Well, how are you doing right now? Because I mean, we'll get into it. Obviously, you said losing is something that's not in your vocabulary. So, how
Yeah.
is it to look back upon this big loss, watching everything back last night?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, honestly, Mike, as you can see, I hate losing, but I think with this one, it's a little bit different because I came into this with the mindset that there's a really big chance I don't win this one. So I think I understood that from the jump. I think something Jeff also tells us prior to us being on the show is like, hey guys, come in with the mindset that you've already lost, right?
Mm.
And just play the game free and just enjoy it and do it. And I think one thing I wanted to do when I came into this game was I wanted to be myself, my authentic self. I knew I was an extreme competitor. I thought that I had some competitors on my tribe as well that were, Tiyana was a D1 athlete. Caroline, played competitive water polo. So I have like people who've been in that space. So, you know, uh, it was just one of those moments where I think I just let a little bit too much of my competitiveness show. But who knows, man? Everything hindsight is always 2020.
Well, let's give some hindsight to Tribal Council because it was a little
Yeah.
topsy-turvy, right? You have everything going on between you and Sue kind of calling each other out. You have Gabe being highlighted and him playing his idol. So walk me
Yeah.
sort of through your reaction through that tumultuous evening, through, I would imagine, a bit of your surprise at you getting 4 votes and going here.
Yeah, I could say I think the one thing that wasn't shown on the show was what my actual plan was.
Mm,
Which is interesting because the way I looked at it was this. So a lot of people have to realize I had no idea Gabe and Sue were a thing, right? That happened the first day when I'm getting tribe supplies, and we've never seen Mike, I can't stress this enough. We've never seen Gabe talk to Sue ever when we were on that island. I've never seen them talk. So it was the weirdest thing in the world to me that they were together. So I'm under the impression that Sue and Caroline are a pair. They've told us they were a pair. Sue literally said, I will never write Caroline's name down to us. So we already knew they were a pair, right? Which is the most dangerous thing in the game of Survivor, right? Is having
mm.
somebody who's a pair. So they're a pair. So in my mind, I have Tiyana, I have Kyle, and so I thought I had Gabe. So my whole plan behind this was we all knew Gabe had an idol. We all knew he would play his idol. The whole goal was to get him to play his idol. So I tried my best to instill some type of fear in Gabe that I could. Like, hey, people are saying they're not really getting a lot of good vibes from you. Hey, man, they're saying like you got an idol. Everybody knows about it. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe you might want to think about playing it. And I'm trying to get him to just be scared and shitless that he's like, I have to play this idol because I don't have a choice. I can't hold on to this thing for long. So the goal was to have him play it. And again, with Sue and Caroline, I didn't know that Gabe and Caroline Gabe and Sue had their thing. So when talking to Caroline, I really wanted to see if it was possible to say, hey, Caroline, I know you and Gabe, we caught them talking a couple of times, but I'm like,
Mm.
hey, Caroline, if you could just vote Gabe, if we can get some votes on Gabe, just in case he doesn't play his idol, because we all know how he's playing, that would be helpful. But then ultimately, I was telling them we're going to vote Gabe, but to my team, I'm saying we're voting Sue. So the goal was to get Gabe to play his idol, Sue to go home, and then also to have Caroline put votes on Gabe because I knew that they had get caught a couple times talking to add distrust to those two so that they wouldn't trust each other. And then potentially I could swoop in and be like, Caroline, now you see you can't trust Gabe. Maybe you come over here with us. And then I would have had a strong four that really had to be solidified with me. And I could have got Gabe out of that equation and Sue out of the equation with no harm, no foul. But it just didn't work out that way because Sue and Gabe were already a thing that I just did not know about.
In retrospect, was there some sort of conversation or interaction that you think back and think, oh yeah, I probably should have seen the writing out was on the wall that I was going? I mean, it seems like you and Tiana seem to make up, but was there a part of that afternoon where you're like, yeah, in retrospect, she was actually a bit madder about all this than I thought?
Yeah, again, there's a lot that doesn't make it in editing, right? That whole conversation between Kyle, Tiana, and I didn't happen where it was like, oh, Kyle's like, oh, let me just go get Tiana. She seems like she's mad at you about that thing. Tiana actually wasn't as mad about what I said on the tarp. That wasn't necessarily what sparked her to go against me. What
Hmm.
actually happened was Tiana, myself, and Gabe were in the ocean. We were having a conversation. No, Tiana, myself, and Kyle were in the ocean having a conversation about what we were going to do next. I let Tiyana know, like, hey, also, Mike, I'll give you some insight at some point. Gabe
Yeah.
is a big reason why we lost that challenge. And I let Tiyana and Kyle know, listen, I'm really gonna go at Gabe about this. Like, hey man, you really dropped the ball on this to just get him again ready to play his idol. So I'm really gonna go at him about this. So I just want to let you guys know that's what I'm doing. It's intentional. And Tiana's like, okay, perfect. And then Tiana's like, okay, I'm gonna go off and talk to the girls. I said, cool, perfect. She goes, Gabe comes down. I do exactly what I said. I'm like, Gabe, you really dropped the ball on this, man. Like, what are you doing here? You're looking for idols. You're not communicating well. What are we doing? He's like, man, I apologize, da 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 da. And I'm like, it's all good, bro. It's part of the game, but I just want to let you know, like, come on, we got to pick it up. Kyle goes to Tiyana, have no idea what's going through Kyle's head at this point, goes to Tiyana and says, TK just apologized to Gabe. And it's like, what? So now Tiana's like, wait, he apologized to Gabe about what he said, but he didn't apologize to me. So is there really a guy's thing? And is the guy's thing stronger than what we have? Okay, maybe I can't trust TK. And then when Kyle comes back and tells me, oh, Tiana's upset because you apologized to Gabe, I'm like, Kyle, what are you talking about? I never apologized to Gabe. What do you say? I literally just went at Gabe in front of you and told you the whole plan. I never apologized to Gabe. And he's like, oh man, I really dropped the ball on that one. And I'm like, yeah, you did. So I'm like, we need to go get Tiyana so I could try to smooth this over. Because right now, Tiana's probably up there saying, this guy just told me we're locked in at 3, but he's apologizing to the guy, but he's not saying anything to me. So that was why Tiyana was brought down to the step. And I had let Tiyana know, like, hey, I never apologized to Gabe. That was not something that ever happened. I actually did exactly what we discussed. But again, I just want to stress to you, I never called you a loser. I never called anybody on this tribe a loser. I just said that I don't think anybody should be smiling when we're losing an immunity challenge and somebody's dream's going to end today. And we
Mm.
don't get, the supplies so that we can all eat and we can all be healthy and happy when we're on this island. Like, yeah, there should be some frustration. I would love to see some passion from people, but Tiyana, I love you and I love Kyle, and you guys are my 3. Anything that I say, you should never think it's immediately at you. You're on my team. So like, I don't know where it's coming from. So there's a lot that they don't show. And again, that's where a lot of those conversations were happening.
Yeah, so talk to me about Gabe. Was it quite literal dropping the ball? Was it with that maze that like he was just screwing it up and that's what cost you the challenge?
Yeah, so I think we all noticed, and they said this multiple times, that challenge specifically is so big on communication. I mean,
Hmm.
communications is the ultimate, like the most important thing that you have in that challenge. And what happened was we're on there and we get up to the same, we keep getting towards the end every time, Mike. We're making it 70% through every time, and we fall at the same point every time, right? So I started realizing, like, hey, there's a way that we can get around this hole. We've been trying it one way. I think there's another way we can do it. And I'm explaining to them exactly how we need to add the tension on. And Gabe literally looks at me and says, one voice, nobody else needs to be talking but me. One voice, everybody listen to me. We're doing it off of what I'm saying. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of crazy to say in a challenge that we all need to be working together. So to me, that really frustrated me. And we're doing it, and he keeps falling to the same spot. And again, we all have different vantage points, right? Of
Hmm.
these obstacles. So I'm on the right, so I can see how much space we have on either side. He's in front of it. He can't. So I'm trying to explain to Gabe, like, this is what we need to do. He's like, one voice, I'm the voice. We're listening to me. I'm in the middle. Everybody listen to me. So that's what really built up the frustration for me. And then to see nobody on my tribe checked him about it. Like nobody's like, hey, Gabe, listen to TK's trying, whatever the case. Kyle actually does say it during the challenge. He's like, after we fall 3 more times after I said it, he's like, hey, Gabe, maybe we should listen to TK. I think he has a good idea. And Gabe's like, no, 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 we just need to keep going. And it doesn't listen, and we end up losing. So that's the frustrating part for me. So if we had just lost that because they were better than us,
Hmm.
that's a different type of feeling. When a team's just better than you can take that loss a lot easier, right? But when it's you and you guys are self-inflicting wounds, when you're playing sports, that's the biggest frustration in the world because we're beating ourselves.
Well, one of the, things that comes with getting to watch the episodes back is obviously seeing other people's opinions about you. And one of the reasons why you're staying with me today is we did get some commentary about, I don't like TK's ego, his attitude, etc. What's your reaction to that, especially around the whole Napgate of it all? Was that something you were picking up while you were on the island?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, when you're a man in this game, you're confident and I'm a fairly big guy in the context of Survivor. I wouldn't
Hmm.
say in real life. I mean, working with NFL players, I'm not big at all compared to these guys. But in the context of Survivor, I'm a pretty big guy. So I think that it's already a little bit intimidating for some people. But also to come in with the confidence that I have and just like, I'm not going to dim my light to make anybody else more comfortable. I'm going to be myself in the hopes that you would be yourself and we can be ourselves and all get to know each other and be happy and go lucky and it's fine. But I think a lot of the time, some of the jokes that I would make with my friends or some of the things that I would say with my friends that are sarcastic, people like Sue don't pick up on sarcasm well.
Mm.
Sue's just not really on that. So like she takes everything literal, like literally everything literal. And then Tiyana just didn't know me. We rarely talked. So a lot of the conversation, there's a lot that they don't show what Sue says to Tiyana about me. So a lot of what Tiana's mindset about who I was based off of what Sue was saying. So Tiyana never really talked to me. So we talked a couple times, but a lot of times, even when we were a three, she went through Kyle and that's how we all connected. And I was okay with it because at the end of the day, I said I don't want to blow up Tiyana's spot because I know she's playing both sides with the girls too, and she's giving us information what the girls are saying. So I don't want people to know all three of us are together. So I'm fine with just showing you talk to Kyle. Let people just think it's just me and Kyle who talk. You know what I mean? I don't want people to know, so that's fine. But essentially, all of our communication, Kyle was the intermediary, and it would go through Kyle, and then Kyle would come tell me, Tiyana thinks this or Tiyana thinks that. And I would say, I don't even know if you realize, Mike, there's a scene in the show when we're on that step where I literally tell Tiyana, can we stop going through these circles to say things about me or say things to me?
Right.
Can
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
come to me directly and talk to me? Because we are a three and it's easy to just give me a look and say, hey, like, let's go get the water bottles and have a conversation. And it would make it a lot easier. But I think everybody decided to take the route of assumption instead of figuring out who people actually are. And I think it's a lot harder for, I guess, somebody who comes across like me to get that same type of,
Well, I think
option.
well, I think what definitely didn't help that is like even on the first day, right? Like you throw paper, you're stepping up to go on that supply journey, you come back, hail the conquering hero. And I mean, we talked about this in the preseason, man, that like, you, as you said, are a bigger guy, and you said this episode that you felt you were the leader of your tribe. Does
Mhm.
this just happen to come by who you were as a person? Did you give it any sort of sense of mind of like, if I'm really stepping up here, I'm shining a big spotlight on myself?
Yeah, but I think I even said this in the interview with you, Mike. I said, listen, I'm going to try to do everything that I can. Every journey I can go on, I'm going to go on it. I want to be the guy who's providing. That's just who I am. But I think a lot of it too has to do with the tribe that I was put on, right? I mean, I think that all of us are strong, and that like inherently decreases my value because our entire tribe is strong, right? So if I'm on God or if I'm on lava, like I'm still in the game. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's no way they can get rid of me. I'm invaluable at that point. But with my tribe, we all are strong. So in my mindset, I'm thinking I have to add value here. Or if it's just, oh, this guy's strong, that's not going to be enough. So if it comes down to getting things for the tribe, I mean, again, Kyle and I went out hunting for crab every single day for the tribe, right? And I'm out there burning calories to get one little leg off of this crab, and everybody else is eating. And it's just little things like that where I'm trying my best to just show everybody, like, hey, I'm here for the team. It should be a team. And that's what it is ultimately. And I think I was operating as, hey, guys, we're a team, we're a tribe, let's work together. When I should have been operating as, I need to worry about myself and do things this way. So I think that's where I kind of dropped the ball because my team mentality came into play and I should have been operating on my own.
Well, last thing I want to ask to that point, I mean, you go to this supply drop, and when we were talking, you said, like, I got eyes locked in, that lady with the braids, we want to work
Yes.
together. And you
Yes.
end up facing off against her. So talk to me about that being flipped on its head. And listen, you talk about another world where you're on another tribe. Were you doing some liaising, some cross tribal stuff, hoping you'd make the merge at some point?
Absolutely. Oh, the moment Asia and I got on that island, I was like, Asia, I gotta let you know, I've been planning this for a while. That you and I are gonna be locked in. We're gonna be good. She was all for it. I was all for it. We actually realized right then and there we have a million things in common. It's actually crazy how much stuff we have in common. Her mom actually has the same kidney disease that I have. So that was crazy. We're both in the same it's something that's called D9. It's a fraternity and sororities organization. We're
Hmm.
both a part of that as well, which there's not a lot of people who are. So there's just a lot of things that we had in common. It was almost scary how much we had in common. So we kind of locked in right away. It was just like, oh my God, you're awesome. I'm awesome. Let's work together. If we get the opportunity, even after I won the challenge, I went up to her, I gave her a big hug, and I'm like, Asia, if we have an opportunity to work together, like, who cares about this challenge? Let's take advantage of this moment and what we're building. And let's just use this to our advantage when we come together, because nobody's going to know anything about anything when we come together and we talk about it, because they're going to think we hate each other. I beat you, you lost, you had to go home mad, I went home happy. They're going to
Yeah,
think
you
that's the
just come in
case.
with that story, right? Of like she tried to box me out and I got
Yeah,
to the buoy first.
exactly. So you're already kind of causing like, oh, that wasn't a good experience for him over there. But realistically, it was an amazing experience. And we both kind of got to get to know each other a little bit. And I think that would have helped me tremendously had I made it a little further in. But I was already making plans outside of my tribe because I realized fairly quickly that that wasn't who my vibes were with.
Well, listen, man, I think in truly the spirit of who you are, you left it all on the field today and in the game as well. I really appreciate getting a lot of insight into everything because I would imagine, certainly, looking back at the way people were talking about you and the way that everything fell out, you had a lot of perspectives, and I'm really glad you offered it.
Yeah.
This was really valuable, and I always relish the chance that we get to talk, man. So I wish, obviously, it was in a couple months, but I'm grateful for the opportunity we got to chat about your game, TK.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mike. You're awesome, man. I love what you
Thanks, man.
do. And thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure.
Of course, the feeling is mutual. All the best to you and yours. And thanks so much again, TK. You have a good one.
Same, Mike.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.